Hello and welcome to TV Talks, the show where I take a look at both the good and the bad of what television has to offer. And last time we talked about The Simpsons Season 9, saying, yeah, there were some bumps in the road, but the show's still good, but there's something bad coming, we can tell for sure. Here it is, the thing that everybody admits is the drop in quality. This is where everything starts dipping. Season 10, I somewhat refute that. Season 10 is still a good season. However, there is a bit different with it. A lot of critics at the time were citing that this show was definitely starting to go downhill as it was starting to more focus on outlandish, crazy gags rather than the characters. See, The Simpsons has always been about telling jokes. Hell, absolutely, it's a comedy show. But there's something wrong still. It had character elements. But this season decided to get rid of it. So rather than actually be able to focus on like a character's development or their flaws that they're trying to work out or their relationships with others, now it was about Homer changing his name to Max Power because of a show that has a name Homer Simpson for one of their characters and he's an idiot. Stuff like that. And these episodes, while not necessarily bad, they're not bad at all. They're still fun. They're missing the heart. I don't think any episode this season really lands that heart. They try for a couple of them, like Homer Simpson in Kidney Trouble, but it feels more goofy rather than actually funny. And with that one, I can't tell what it's supposed to be. Is it supposed to be funny? Is it supposed to be weird? I don't know. So we acknowledge that the story is completely out. Well, what do we got for comedy? Hit and miss, but mostly hit. Let's talk about, of course, Treehouse of Horror. This one I think is pretty good. The toupee one I think is very, very good. Something like you'd find in the originals. The one where Bart and Lisa get into an Itchy and Scratchy episode feels very natural again. The one where they go on the Jerry Springer show and it turns out Maggie's actually an alien, I could have done without that one. So, the Treehouse of Horror turned out pretty good, right? Yeah. And also a few others did. Like where Homer gets inspired by Thomas Edison. Nowhere near anything hard, but it has a lot of funny jokes and a lot of iconic moments. There's 30 Minutes Over Tokyo, which is non-stop hilarity. I actually think this one is from earlier all the time. I never remember that it's actually from later on. As it turns out, it actually is from when everyone said it was declining. This is absolutely hilarious, and it fits just with the originals. And also, they save Lisa's brain where Lisa joins Mensa. It fits perfectly, again, and it's very, very, very funny. Maximum Overdrive, while stupid, is still outlandishly funny with a lot of great quotes. Married to the Mob has this same thing. Marge Simpson's Screaming Yellow Honkers, I'm with Cupid. Lisa gets an A, Bart the Mother, it's all there. All a lot of great stuff with not a lot of heart, even if they try, it doesn't really land very well. But still great humor. The humor, they're definitely putting a larger focus on this. And you know what? Hey, we can do with that, right? Season 2 put a larger focus on the story, and here we are, and it's turning out pretty well. However, there is a little bit of a downside, is that sometimes they try to go too outlandish. This is where we get into the infamous Flanderization. Flanderization, for those who don't know, is a pre-established character who has a character trait, obviously. But then that trait just gets stretched and stretched and stretched and stretched and stretched all the way until that's their only character trait. This happens with Ned Flanders, who was a good-natured guy and happened to be Christian, who turned into this overly obsessive Christian guy. Then it was Homer, who was a stupid family man who's now just a full-on moron. Lisa, who was just kind of the voice of reason, turning into a social justice warrior hardcore liberal. That sort of stuff. It all stems here. This is the beginning of this. There's a lot of signs for this, too. Make Room for Lisa is one of these examples of Lisa being overly whiny. Dolan in the Wind has Homer being one of the dumbest he's ever been. Same with When You Dish Upon a Star. It just gets too outlandish with the characters and also the jokes. Like in When You Dish Upon a Star, the whole thing is just kinda stupid. Like, it's funny, but it's still stupid. There's a lot of that in there. It seems more like they turned their brain off for this season and just kind of wrote something to compete with a show that was becoming really popular, Family Guy. Family Guy is absolute brainless humor. Anyone could tell those jokes. And The Simpsons is starting to turn into that. It still has its own flair and its own stamp, like the whole police cops thing in Maximum Homer Drive. That still reeks of The Simpsons. The entirety of 30 Minutes Over Tokyo where Lisa gets an A. That, again, it fits perfect. A lot of quotes and one-off lines here and there. Again, it nails it. But the heart just isn't really there anymore, and it feels more like just another zany, wacky Fox sitcom. Which that's not really what The Simpsons is. Yeah, it was goofy, yeah, it was silly, but it also poked fun at popular culture and it had a lot of heart to it. But it's funny, it's wacky, but pop culture stuff is definitely lower. And when it comes to heart, again, there just is none. And the jokes they tell are just getting crazier and crazier. It's almost like they kind of only planned to have about 8 or 9 seasons worth, and this is just getting to be a bit too much for them. It's almost like having a show going on and 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 on is not a good idea because people are eventually going to run out of ideas. But the telltale sign of any show is when they start repeating ideas. Have they done that yet? Not exactly. They haven't repeated exact plots or anything, but they're starting to get into some niche concepts. They have some original ones like Viva Ned Flanders, where Homer tries to teach Ned to loosen up. That sounds like a great one. But then we have stuff like I'm with Cupid, which as much as I like it, it is still Marge and Homer playing Cupid for somebody. And Homer having trouble with his wife. There's also the Simpsons Bible stories. Again, it's the same thing that we have earlier, the 3 stories, and they tell a variety of different wacky tales. That's kind of it. We have Mom and Pop art. Again, Marge and Homer having trouble. Whoop-dee-doo. They save Lisa's brain. Lisa's feeling out of place and wants to change herself to fit in. Or I guess not as much change herself, but like get into a different group. When you dish upon a star, Homer gets a job as an X. Bart the mother. Bart finds himself having to deal with Nelson's bad influence. So on and so forth. We're starting to get a lot of these. And it's understandable. A show can only go on so long and have certain original premises. Even so, though, it's okay that this just happened for 1 season, so I give it the Archibald seal of approval. Now let's move on to season 11, and whoa, look at those ratings. Looks like the ratings went down, 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 down. With the exception of the 20 seasons, or the 30th season, this is the lowest. I guess people were really not into season 10 because BAM! What happened? Did lightning hit the Telecaster? Thumbs up if you get that reference. Boy, howdy, something must be wrong with season 11, huh? That or just season 10 left such a bad taste in everyone's mouths. This is the first season where a lot of people say, yeah, I stopped watching before that, so I have no real familiarity with this one. And let's hope that everything that happened with season 10 was just a fluke. Whoops! No, it's not. It emphasized... Oh boy. Right off the bat, the first one we get is Homer becoming an assistant to Mel Gibson, who's remaking Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. Again, funny, very outlandish. Probably just something different, right? That's just an exception. Whoops, Brother's Little Helper. Bart gets addicted to his Ritalin-esque drug because he gets ADD. Okay, Homer becomes a food critic. Funny, but this is weird. Then we get Treehouse of Horror, which I Know What You Did Last Summer's parody with Ned Flanders is very good. Everyone loves Stretch Dude and Clobber Girl. Life's a glitch when you die. That one could only have been made at the time of this, so that one was good. E-I-E-I Annoyed Grunt, or E-I-E-I Don't! Homer becomes a crazy farmer who ends up making mutant plants. Huddle gutter, huddle fatter. When it's Homer becoming famous for getting a perfect game, and then he gets depressed when he becomes a one-hit wonder. What is happening anymore? What is this? This is when The Simpsons starts becoming very, very fanciful, and becoming kind of detached from our world. Yeah, The Simpsons is a cartoon, so of course it can be outlandish and weird and funny, but What is this? It's losing what it was. It's starting to get all detached and wonky and weird, even more so than Season 10. Everything I talked about in Season 10 is full and present here. This is understandable though, as around this time, Season 10 and 11, a lot of the crew was starting to change up. Old writers were going, new writers were coming in, and of course with every new writing team, there's always going to be new interpretations of what you want the show to become. That's understandable. This doesn't feel like The Simpsons at all. Yeah, they had some weird stuff like Itchy and Scratchy Land, but at least that stuff was somewhat plausible, like robots and such. The biggest example I can point to this show being unlike anything else is the episode Saddle Sore Galactica. Before the weird stuff comes in, it's just kind of a meh episode. Not good, not bad, just kinda alright. But in the third act, we find out that the jockeys are actually some kind of elf creature. No. However, despite the fact that there are some pretty strange ones in here, not all bad, just kind of weird, there are some real good ones here, like Last Tap Dance to Springfield, Behind the Laughter, E.I.E. Annoy Grunt, like I mentioned, Guess Who's Coming to Criticize Dinner, and my personal favorite of this season, which I'm going to push the favorites now to the end, Alone Again, Naturally. This is one of the last times The Simpsons had true, poignant, punching drama. Ah, man. Ned's drama here is very good. And it's very impactful, because Maude has been with us since the very beginning of the show, but now with her dying, we get to see how that affects not just Ned and the boys, but everyone in Springfield. This is, I think, one of the best later run episodes. But, of course, we also get a lot of stinkers, like the infamous Kill the Alligator and Run, which is literally nothing I can enjoy. It is just flat out boring, lame, nothing good about it. Faith Off, which is extremely hit and miss. The Mansion Family, totally forgettable in every way. Take My Wife's Sleeves, which is just, what? Hello Gutter, Hello Fatter starts off good, but then it just kind of trails off into nothing. Brother's Little Helper is alright, but not too rememberable. Pygmalion, again, like Hello Gutter, Hello Fatter, started off good, but then just trails away. Missionary Impossible is just Ain't Misbehavin', a lot of people don't like it. I actually think it's pretty good. Days of Wine and Dolts is good, but I don't really get what it's going for here. We know Barney's gonna switch back eventually, but you know, it was a good change for Barney, I suppose, but it kind of took away his specialness. It gave him a good story, but it just kind of made him Barney, because without the drunkenness, Barney isn't really much of a character. And it's a mad Marge. I just don't care about this one at all. So yeah, very hit and miss, and it's very inconsistent too. Again, they're more focusing on wacky shenanigans rather than actually telling the classic Simpsons story. Again, maybe they just want to compete with Family Guy here, but I don't know. I can't really support this direction. While funny, it does nothing good for the characters, and it certainly tears them down a lot. Even the good ones are nowhere near as good as some of the classics. I mean, I do think people are definitely hard on this one, absolutely. And I do really like a good chunk of these episodes. Like Behind the Laughter, it's really unique and really funny, and it kind of pokes fun at the fact that the show's starting to go downhill. Last Tap Dance to Springfield, Alone Again, Naturally, is all that. It's tough. And I'm going to give it the Archibald seal of approval, but only by a hair. I actually had to think about this a long time. It was almost a nothing. But barely will it get the Archibald seal of approval. I mean, if a lot of people stopped watching here, which they certainly did, I don't blame them. This is a lot of missed opportunities, but one thing I'm starting to notice is the endings are getting messed up. Remember when I reviewed Das Bus and I said that it was fine, but stuff was wrong with the ending, it just kind of stopped, and in fact there was a case for a lot of stuff in Season 9. Well, now it's getting even more prevalent, and it's getting even more common. It's like they're doing just fine, but in episodes like Hello Gutter, Hello Fatter, again, the ending, they don't really care, and they just kind of abandon the story they're telling just to tell something stupid. Well, let's hope Season 12 has something different. Here it is, Season 12, and it actually starts off with Treehouse of Horror. How is this one? Flat. Nothing. It's alright. And how is this season? I shall now list the episodes that I would consider worth watching, as in going out of your way to watch. A Tale of Two Springfields. Skinner's Sense of Snow. Home Horror. Worst Episode Ever. Day of the Jackanapes. New Kids on the Block. Hungry Hungry Homer. Trilogy of Error. And I'm Going to Praiseland. Out of a season with 21 episodes, those are the only ones I can say that are actually really good. And none of them are really fantastic either. The closest one to being great, I would say, is Hungry Hungry Homer, because it really does feel like a kind of classic thing that Homer would do. And it's a very gripping story, although not really emotional, and it's got a lot of humor and a lot of fun potential. Now there's some other ones in here that are just kind of like decent, like Simpsons Tall Tales, or Tennis the Menace, or Pokemon, but that's not really enough to recommend it. Decent isn't what the show is known for. It's usually known for outstanding, wonderful, hilarious, unique comedy and episodes. And it's just kinda... That's how I would describe a lot of these. The only real bad ones, I think, are Insane Clown Poppy, which just kinda has a lot of too mean-spirited stuff and just isn't really very enjoyable overall. And Children of a Lesser Clod, which I used to like. There used to be some really funny things in here, but it's just kind of, I don't know, a little too mean with the negligence and all. Everything else in this is just kind of mediocre and serviceable, which is weird. We went from such outlandish, ridiculous, crazy, what the heck things to just having the Computer Wore Menace shoes, which is the weirdest Simpsons episode thus far, and I don't think it works. I think it's too weird for its own good. And it's not really a fun weird, it's just kind of an weird. And it's just not flowing. It doesn't flow very well. It doesn't really have a consistent tone. It doesn't have a consistent writing style anymore. It just kind of tells outlandish, weird things and going from place to place. Again, though, it's not bad, and if any of these episodes, say for Children of a Lesser Clod or Insane Clown Poppy, came on the air, I would watch them. They're still fun, but they're not Simpsons fun. So when I say they're I mean they're by Simpsons standards. Simpsons is a laugh-a-minute, non-stop, fun-filled thrill ride of geriatric comic proportions. This is just kind of, that was funny. But none of this is really memorable. In fact, for a lot of these, like Homer vs. Dignity, Simpsons Safari, Bye Bye Nerdy, and The Great Money Caper, I'm having a hard time coming up with anything to say about these, because I barely even remember them. They're just nothing. It's just kind of passable. This is where Zombie Simpsons really begins, in my opinion. Now, I do enjoy this season, because like I said, it's got some fun things, and even though things are just kind of and not memorable, when you do watch them, they're still fun, but it's not The Simpsons anymore. It's just a serviceable animated show. It's not fantastic, but it's still got some decent quality, but I can't judge it purely on a show standard. We're talking about Simpsons here. So because we're going on Simpsons standards, I'm giving this season nothing.
You get nothing!
The first season to not get the Archibald seal of approval. We're heading into some rough waters here, people. I still enjoy this season, though, and I still definitely am glad that I have my DVD box set of this. However, if we're speaking objectively about The Simpsons quality as a whole, this is certainly lacking. And I think I gave all my notes here. Really, we're just kind of seeing the same problems repeat over and over again. The writers are starting to find new strides in their flanderized characters and over-exaggerated premises that they're kind of forgetting what made the original show classic. Granted, of course, with the shakeup of all the crew behind the scenes, that's to be expected. However, a lot of people have noted this is not a very good direction to go to, and it would only hurt them more and more down the road. Now, time to talk about favorites and least favorites for each season. Favorite episode for Season 10 is obviously 30 Minutes Over Tokyo, with Lisa gets an A as a second place for me, even if the ending is a little weird. And also I'd say Homer to the Max is also tied for second, despite its stupidity. There's no real outright terrible one in here, but I would have to say my least favorite one is mom and pop art. I don't know, it's just kind of frustrating. Although the first third with Homer trying to build a barbecue grill is really funny, I must say. Season 11. I think we all know what my favorite one's gonna be. I'll give you a second to try to guess. That's right, Saddle Sore Galactica! No, I'm just kidding. Alone Again, Natra Diddly. I already said why. Least favorite, Kill the Alligator and Run. It's just like Tofu, the episode. It's bland, it's boring, and it's a little bit annoying to get through, and when you're done with it, you don't really have that much to gain, and nothing really happened. What a way to run a railroad, I do dare say. Season 12's highlight, as I already said again with the last season we just talked about, Hungry, Hungry Homer, with Dave the Jackanapes speaking at a close second. I'm just a sucker for Sideshow Bob, I can't help it. My least favorite one here is Insane Clown Poppy, again for reasons I already mentioned. What do you guys think of the direction that The Simpsons is going? Is it bad? Is it really bad? Or do you have some kind of other opinion? Because we can certainly see we're not at the same place we were at. It's starting to shift. But that's enough about that for now. Good night, everybody.